Hi, welcome to Your Nervous System Has a Type. This is why capable women stay stuck and exactly what your body has been trying to tell you all along. I'm Amy. I'm a double certified burnout and nervous system coach, and I'm currently studying my master's in psychology. In the next 20-minute masterclass, I'm going to explain why capable, intelligent women just like you stay stuck, not because of your mindset, not because of your habits, but because of something happening in your nervous system that most coaching completely ignores. But before we get started, I want to make sure you're in the right Zoom. You don't need to diagnose yourself right now. I know that that's tempting. Just let yourself land on whichever of these feel most true for you. You're good at your job and privately exhausted by it. You function, you deliver. You just can't remember the last time any of it felt easy. Or you've tried the sleep, the supplements, the boundaries, maybe even therapy. Something shifts for a while and then you find yourself back in the same place. You know something is off, you just can't name it. You're beginning to wonder if this is just what your life looks like now. Or perhaps part of you is starting to lose the thread of who you were before work took everything. Maybe it's before family took everything, caring responsibilities took everything. You want that version of you back, but you're not sure where she went. And I'm not going to ask you to identify as burned out or broken. I just want you to notice if anything lands. Why does this matter? Recognition is not a small thing. Your nervous system has been running a story in the back end that is just telling you this is who you are. Naming it is the first interruption to that pattern, that story that your nervous system is telling you. Now, I know you've probably been on Instagram or TikTok and seen loads of people talking about the nervous system, but when we talk about it, what are we actually talking about? Well, it's a really simple way of remembering it. Your central nervous system is the control center. That's your brain and your spinal cord. Do me a favor, just touch your little brain for me and just give yourself a gentle tap there at the top, spinal cord. Your peripheral nervous system, that's your network. Every nerve in your body outside of that. It's constantly feeding information back to the center. One is the headquarters, and the other one is the wiring. And the thing you need to realize is that wiring is always switched on. Your nervous system's got one job. It's to keep you alive and functioning. And to do that, it's always taking in information, making sense of it, responding to it, and trying to keep your internal world stable. It's doing all four of these things here without you actually asking it to. That's kind of why when you go to bed at night, your body kicks in and sometimes you're wide awake and you can't go to sleep. You're still in fight mode, probably, or flight mode. And it's your body not feeling safe, not ready to switch off, doesn't know how to switch off yet. And we're not angry with our nervous systems. Our nervous systems are just doing what they're supposed to do to keep us alive, keep us safe. Remember that. Something I feel deeply passionate about as a qualified burnout informed coach is that burnout is not a mindset problem. It is a biology problem. It's got nothing to do with discipline. Your nervous system has got that singular job of keeping you alive, keeping you safe, remember? And so it's asking 1,000 times a day, thousands and thousands actually, am I safe right now? And two parts work together to answer it. That central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, that control center, and the peripheral nervous system, that wiring that connects it to everything else, constantly feeding it information back in. When the answer is yes, you're in the window, you're clear, you're steady, you're present. When the answer is no, then your nervous system launches into survival response and it doesn't get to choose which response it uses. That depends on what it's learned works, what's kept you safe before, what it's been practicing since childhood. This is where fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, the four nervous system states, come from. And it's really important. I'm a researcher to talk about the science. This isn't something I invented. I didn't scroll Instagram one day and see something cool and think, I might monetize this. I might make this my career. I've been studying this and teaching this for over 10 years. There are typical theories that we would use when we're talking about your nervous system. Number one, you may have come across is polyvagal theory. This explains why your nervous system scans for safety below the conscious awareness. There's the window of tolerance, which shows why chronic stress narrows your capacity until almost anything tips you over the edge, when you snap at the smallest things. And then the work on Fawn, which is fascinating, which is around 2013, which names that appeasement response that so many really capable, competent women have been living in for years without realizing it. And the thing that's so fascinating about this one is it's the most socially rewarded. If you think about, for the most part, as a woman, and it depends on your culture as well, but you are rewarded for being quiet, staying silent, shrinking, making yourself smaller. All of this feeds into fawn as a trauma response. So, what you've been experiencing has a biological basis. It's not a character flaw. And you might be also looking at this thinking, Aimee, where are the women? I totally hear you. Unfortunately, for the most part, the foundational research in this area is by men. But there are two women I'd like to draw your attention to. Number one is Deb Dana, probably the most accessible name here for us to talk about. She's a clinician who took polyvagal theory and translated it into practical, usable language. Her book, Anchored, is widely read outside of clinical settings, and she makes the science behind all of this really human. And then Pat Ogden, who developed sensoromotor psychotherapy, which is fascinating and works directly with the nervous system and body responses to trauma. It's highly respected in the trauma-informed space and very aligned to what I teach as a practitioner as well. Where you're sitting really matters. The above window here is hyperarousal, fight, flight, and fawn. Below the bottom there, you've got another hyperarousal, which is freeze and shut down. Now, in fight, flight, fawn, you're wired, reactive, busy, overwhelmed. There's activation with nowhere healthy to go. With freeze and shut down, you are foggy, flat, disconnected. What we really want to be aiming for is that window of tolerance, that flow, that regulation. This is the goal, where we can be present and clear, able to recover from stress. Most of the women that are watching this masterclass have been living outside of the window of tolerance for a really long time. But this is why that happens. Your alarm has been going off for such a long time that your nervous system actually doesn't know how to turn off. The body can't tell the difference between a threat that is real and one that's just familiar. So it keeps running the same response on loop long past the point where it's actually useful. It's not a mindset problem. We can't meditate our way out of this, I'm afraid. It's a nervous system that's got very, very good at surviving. It's not yet been shown it's safe to stop. But the good news is that these windows of tolerance can be rebuilt. So let's talk about exactly what these four states look like. Here's fight. It's the one that people most picture when they think about stress. So this is wired, reactive, always on. The cortisol's got nowhere to go. The question I always ask my clients is, am I actually in danger right now, or is my body just behaving as if I am? And I ask my clients to actually ask themselves this question in the morning. It's a pattern interrupt question. It's not rhetorical. Write it on a post-it note. Have it on your phone as your screenshot, if that's where you're at right now. The fight response is a prediction, it's not a fact. And if you feel like you are in this space right now, I have a journal prompt for you, which is write one specific moment from the last week where you noticed this pattern. Remember what I talked about earlier? We're noticing that pattern. It's the first step. Then we have flight. How does this one show up? Well, it's constantly busy. My busy bees, those of you who are always finding something to do, the ones that get the most praise externally, This woman looks really productive. She looks driven, but what's actually happening is that her nervous system has learned that staying in motion keeps the feeling of threat at bay. Stopping feels dangerous because stopping means you have to feel something. So, a great question to ask yourself is, what am I actually running from right now? And what would happen if I stopped long enough to find out? A great journal prompt for you. What's the thing you've been keeping yourself too busy to think about? Write it down. You don't have to solve it today. Notice. Then we've got freeze. This is the one that people don't actually recognize as a stress response. They think they're lazy, they think that they've lost their drive. This is where a lot of my clients feel like they've really failed and they haven't. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. And the thing about freeze response that I'm really keen for you to hear is that willpower actually deepens a shutdown system. So the more you dig in, you stay stubborn, the harder this is for you. What shifts this is starting really small so that you can't fail. So ask yourself, what's the smallest thing that you can do right now just to prove to your body that it's safe to start moving, to start doing, to start taking action? And your workbook prompt, if this is you, what's the one task that you've been avoiding the longest? It's the absolute smallest first step that you can take. And then our relatively new response is Fawn. It's the one I actually see the most with the women I work with in corporate. And it's also the one that gets the most praise. You hold everything together, you never make a fuss. But what we don't realize underneath the surface is that there is a lot of resentment building here. It's not a personality, it's a survival strategy. So you ask yourself, what would I say right now if I weren't trying to manage how someone else is feeling? And the thing you can journal on is, what's one thing you said yes to this week that you meant to actually say no to? This one can be hard, I know. What were you actually trying to protect? It could have been your peace, your safety, your security, your psychological security and safety. It could also be a fear of conflict because you're so full to the brim right now that the idea of having a difficult conversation is just too much, so you'd rather say yes. All of this, do you see how it all just opens up when you start really asking yourself those questions? And then we have our regulated state. This is our fifth state. This is the goal, but it's not the finish line. Some of you who are watching this might be thinking, oh, I'm actually okay. I'm all right now. But don't take that for granted because flow erodes gradually over time. It's not dramatic. It doesn't happen overnight. So the workbook prompt you've got here is to write one thing that would disappear first if life got harder. So for example, your daily walks might slowly start to dissipate. And then you're not regulating in the way that you want to anymore, and you start to feel stressed and you don't have anywhere for that energy to go. Maybe you start drinking more in the evenings again, and you told yourself you'd only have wine at the weekends. All of these little tiny things start to erode and erode and erode, and our flow state goes. So now I want you to ask yourself which state feels most like you. You don't have to pick perfectly. Most women actually move between the two states. One usually dominates though, but two things can exist at once. Think about which one of these feels most true for you. And the big question I want you to ask yourself is, what has the state cost you in the last 3 months? Have you noticed that you're spending less time with your family and friends? Are you feeling a little bit more stressed? Are you sleeping not so great? Have you stopped working out? Are you putting weight on? Are you losing too much weight? What is happening for you right now? What is this costing you? What is not dealing with this, understanding this, actually costing you? It's not meant to make you feel unsafe or feel any shame. There is no shame in this. This is just for you. But remember, we have to notice in order to actually move through this. So when we think about what actually changes the pattern, because I'm all about behavior change, there are 4 stages. Biology first, everything else after. Remember that. Number one, name the state. So identify which stress response is running and why it made sense when it started. There is no shame. Shame is the lowest energetic frequency that we could exist in. We want to move through shame as quickly and as healthily as possible. Then remove what's feeding it. So find those specific inputs telling your nervous system that threat is still real. Environments, people, places, habits. And I'm not saying quit your job right now. That can actually trigger your nervous system into a major overdrive. But it might be thinking about how you build in the habits to take a longer lunch break, not eat at your desk, switch off during the evenings and not answer emails. Little things you can start to do to really introduce that feeling of safety. Then you're going to add the right signals. So give your specific state what it actually needs, not generic wellness advice. We're not doing toxic positivity over here. It's biology informed and it's state specific inputs. And then we're going to rebuild from the inside. So once the nervous system has space, the career, the identity work, the relationship work, the friendship stuff, it all lands. This is where root and rise, your process actually begins. And regulation is not the destination. It's the foundation for everything. So ask yourself, what do you want to stop? What is the thing you want to just stop doing that's getting in your way? Overthinking, ruminating, sitting on the couch scrolling on TikTok instead of getting on your walking pad. Not goals, just honest sentences about the version of you that you're trying to get back to. And I'll be really honest, mine for this year, I sit down every New Year's Eve and I write myself a letter for the year ahead. And I thank myself for what I have done for myself this year. So I write it as though it has happened. It's a really good manifestation technique. And this year I wrote solely about being a present wife and mother. Because I really felt like in the last 2 to 3 years, during my own recovery from burnout, my second, third burnout, that I haven't been here. I haven't been present. I haven't been here for my family and the people I love the most. And what does this do? It gives me an anchor, something to pin to come back to be really real with myself. And when I'm in the kitchen and my daughter's speaking to me and I'm replying to an email, to say, wait a second, put your phone down and look her in the eye. Catching myself in those moments, those micro habits, those little things. Because when you set yourself a little promise and you break that promise, you erode your own personal trust. So be careful with this, take your time with this one, but really start thinking about what you want to stop doing and what you want to welcome in to your life. And this is what it looks like when the biology changes. This work is not abstract. This work produces incredible results. These women are just two of the women I've worked with who have changed, fundamentally changed their habits, and the knock-on effect of that, you can't argue with it. These are women who finally understood that their body had been doing something to protect them, and they got the right support to shift it in the right direction, not because they worked harder, but because they stopped running this stress response that had been quietly costing them everything. I wish someone had said this to me 2 years ago. You're not too much, you are just running on the wrong fuel. Your nervous system's not broken, there's something wrong with you. You are learning exactly what you need to keep you safe, okay? The question is whether you are ready to actually start learning something new, to teach your body something new. And just by virtue of watching this masterclass, I can tell that you are looking to, ready to engage and make that shift. And there's various things you can do. You can start with my free quiz, which will help you work out which nervous system state you're in right now. It takes 2.5 minutes. You can get your nervous system reset report. You can talk to me. I do free Pathfinder calls, 15 minutes to work out what might be your best next step. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. I talk about this daily. I'm posting habits, tips, tricks, and I have a great newsletter that comes out every Friday. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time to look out for you. Remember, it all starts with you.